I'm so excited to talk to you about what I made last night, which is this chocolate cake, but it's not just any chocolate cake. The secret ingredients are also behind me. I put this in the cake layers, so it's actually a chocolate peppermint milk stout cake. And the ganache is actually made with dark mint chocolate. This is from Moseroth. I got it at Aldi. So we are going to do the part that I'm most nervous about always, which is cutting into the cake. And I'm gonna tell you all about it while you watch me eat. We can take some time to observe and appreciate the design on top. That is harder than it looks. At least for me. It took me like 4 tries to get that somewhat even and symmetrical. I tried to do a crumb coating on the outside. You know, one of those, like some people intentionally make it a very thin layer on the outside. Not the most reason of which I actually didn't make enough ganache, which I'll go to in a second, but I tried. We have areas of opportunity. What did we say at work? Areas of opportunity areas to work on when it comes to what we need to improve. So let me take the ugliest piece. Okay, it's this one. All right, moment of truth, ready? I hate this part. I just get so nervous about it. This is actually I think the knife we used at our wedding. Okay, we're already starting off terribly. That is not a straight line, but you know what? We're gonna go with it. So, I'm already making a mess. It's fine, it's fine. The inspiration for this cake, okay, so way back when I had the idea to start a cupcake business. Remember back when, I know, cupcakes or desserts always have their trends, like it's been cookies for a little bit. I had thought of making a cupcake bakery back when I thought I was going to go into food, when I was going to go into culinary because I was having a quarter-life crisis. I thought about doing something in the boozy cakes area, so I always had a little bit of, what would it look like if I added beer to a cake, you know, or a cupcake, and that was this one. And it's seasoned for peppermint milk chocolate, so here we go. How does that look? Not the cleanest cut, again, areas of improvement, areas of opportunity, but here's what that looks like. Okay, I never know if I have enough between the layers. All right, I'm gonna bring you back up. So for these cake layers, I had mentioned I had used the Imperial Stout. You can definitely taste the beer. I'm pretty sensitive to beer taste though, but I think if people have a normal taste palette, they would just say like, I think they would just say it tastes moist and tastes good. The mint definitely comes out. So in between, oh, it's actually really good. Well, what do I talk about first? I'll talk about the cake layers first. So I always use Yolanda from How to Cake It. I always use her cakes as a base. Remember I was saying that I was thinking about making a boozy cake shop, and I had always used Yolanda's as a base to make my cakes. I'm gonna be honest, I'm surprised I like this. Because I don't usually like alcoholic things, which like I know is weird because I just said that I was gonna make an alcohol-based bakery, but I'm surprised that I actually like this. It doesn't taste like beer, but I think you can taste the beer. It's definitely minty. So, you know the popular beer cake is the Guinness one. Whenever people have heard of chocolate cakes with beer in them, or any cake with beer in them, it's always gonna be the Guinness one. That one I don't like, even though I know it's really popular, but again, it's the fact that I feel like I could really taste the beer. But I decided to try to go beyond that. I made a few different cakes. So that's when I found out that How to Cake It has really good bases for cakes. And I think it's because her cakes are very basic. They contain only ingredients that you have around the house. Yolanda's cake, I call her Yolanda like we're friends. I mean, she's my homegirl, but she doesn't know it. But the How to Cake It recipes are really good base. And what I do when I make boozy cupcakes is I swap ingredients. So for this one, luckily, there's a step in there where you pour hot water into cocoa powder. So instead of hot water, I used hot beer. I actually want you to taste this. I'm so surprised I actually like it. So the one thing that's not super duper like normal about How to Cake It's cakes are the way that she portions out her cake batter. She says I'm making 8 pounds of batter, and then she divides it into her pans. That's just not a very normal way for people to talk about cakes, which to be fair, she does have, and I've used her conversion chart when you make this cake, because you definitely need to make this cake. In the video, you have to watch both the video and read the website. In the video, she makes 8 pounds of batter. The website calls for 4 pounds of batter. And what I wanted was 2 6-inch cakes, so I needed 3 pounds of batter. But then I ended up making too much by accident because I forgot that her cake pans are 3 inches tall and mine are only 2 inches tall, so I should have actually made less. Anyway, for you who's watching this and is doing the exact same thing I am, I think you should aim for making 2 pounds. I ended up putting 1 pound of batter in each 6-inch pan and it was perfect. With the leftovers I had, I put it into some other random like cake pans. I input all the ingredients on the How to Cake It website onto the restaurant calculator, and it was originally 4 and then I put 3 because I thought I wanted 3 pounds of batter. So maybe we just cut that in half. So technically what I should have done, I realized after I put the batter into the 6-inch pans that I had another 6-inch pan, so I should have just made 3 6-inch cakes. It doesn't matter. It's fine. So either do the 4 to 3 conversion or just cut the recipe in half and make 2 pounds if you have 2-inch tall pans like I do. And I feel like most people have 2-inch tall pans. I feel like 3-inch tall pans are not as common, but definitely check your pantry. So, moral of the story, I should have made 2 pounds of batter if I wanted to put it in 6-inch pans that are 2 inches tall. For this one, you will swap the hot water portion, the hot water step for hot beer. In the recipe, she says to boil like 3 cups of water, and then when the water's boiling, measure out the 2 cups that you need exactly. I didn't want to waste beer, so I think I did like 17 ounces. Even though I made 17 ounces and my goal was 16 ounces, hardly any of it boiled off. So I think you can just measure however much beer you need, measure it in the cup beforehand, and then put it on the stove, that amount. Because what I didn't like doing was putting the hot water back into the measuring cup. If you have a glass measuring cup, it doesn't matter. But I don't think I have a heat-proof measuring cup. So tip in summary is go ahead and just boil as much hot beer as you need. Okay, I don't think there was anything else. I didn't use cake strips. I never used cake, well, I did and they've never worked for me. I didn't use cake strips and they turned out pretty straight, pretty flat. I also don't have a convection oven, so. Oh, I will admit though, that the How to Cake It cakes sometimes turn out to be kind of heavy. Just an FYI, this is not like a light cake. So for the ganache, that was like another whole thing. I don't think I've ever filled a cake with ganache before. I'm always a buttercream girl. I did use a 2-to-1 chocolate to heavy cream. There is another website, which I'm gonna link below. An amazing person did the work for us. And I Googled how much ganache do I need to fill my cake, and her website popped up first. She gives you a variety of different options for sizes of cake layers and says, this is how many ounces you need. Hers was spot on. I would say follow that website too, because I had no idea how much ganache I needed. I calculated that I would be making 4 layers of 6-inch cakes. The calculation was like 4 ounces of ganache per layer. So 4 ounces of ganache per 6-inch layer times 4 layers was 16. And I wanted a 2-to-1 ratio of chocolate to heavy cream. 16 does not divide into 3 very evenly, so I just rounded up. I went to 18. I did 12 ounces of this chocolate, and I did 6 ounces of the heavy cream in order to get to the total of 18 ounces with a ratio of 2-to-1. I listened the most to Preppy Kitchen, so I'll link his videos below too. I've been following him for forever, but I mostly use his information in his video about ganache. And so I did that 2-to-1 ratio of chocolate to milk, and then I waited for it to set a little bit or a lot bit. I waited hours. I made the ganache first and then I made the cakes. So the ganache was setting while the cake was baking or being made and baking. I'm also the slowest person on the planet when it comes to anything. I take forever to make cakes, make ganache. So the ganache had time to set. And I then whipped the ganache up using a hand mixer. And in order to get more of that volume, I think if I didn't do that, I would not have had enough for sure. I already ran out and I definitely would not have had enough if I didn't whip it. So when you whip it, it'll get lighter in color, and that is why you see these different colors. You'll see the inside filling is a lighter color. It's the same ratio though. I still use that same, I just made 1 batch of ganache and then I just whipped it. The thing is, if you don't use it, like it hardens. So by the time I got to like the last layer that I was trying to cover, the chocolate had completely like it was just not usable. So I had to put it back on the stove, and then the chocolate broke, and I was so scared of my chocolate breaking, which it totally did, which it's fixable, but it looked hairy for a second. It looked like I was screwed because my chocolate was just not looking grainy. People are like, you'll know your chocolate seizes if it just looks grainy. Mine didn't look grainy. It had white like streaks in it, I was so scared because I didn't have any more ganache. I just kept it on top of the stove on a double boiler. The ganache I was making was in a metal bowl, so I kept it in there so I could bring it on top of the double boiler if I needed. I know a lot of people microwave it. I don't love using the microwave, and the double boiler is easy enough to turn. It takes no time for chocolate to melt, so I didn't really feel like I was losing that much time versus using a microwave. So by the time I got to the last layer, the top and the sides, I needed to go to bed because it was like 11 o'clock. My chocolate was breaking and I didn't want to risk, I did fix it and it was fine, and that's what you see on top, but I didn't want to risk it breaking again. So I didn't whip it too much and I kind of regret it. I wish I whipped it more. I think the end result was good, but had I maybe spent more time to whip it again, it would have been like more to cover the sides, but it's okay. I think it turned out good. I don't know why I'm so shocked, but I am shocked that you could really taste the mint in the ganache. If you eat the cake by itself and if you eat the ganache by itself, they're both good, but the two together, so good. And I was a little bit scared of mixing peppermint taste with mint taste, but I feel like the flavors enough are so, because peppermint is within the family of mint, so I felt like it was safe. I think if I didn't know this, I would not think anything of it. I would just think that this was super amazing and really, really good. This definitely has to be one of my favorites that I've ever made. Okay, couple of tips when you're baking. Your oven is a liar. I would definitely recommend getting an oven thermometer. I've had really big differences in my oven of what it says on the thing where I set the oven temperature versus what it actually is using the oven thermometer. If you know your oven already, then it's fine. But if you need to be precise, I would definitely say get an oven thermometer. The other thing is that I don't use the toothpick method anymore to see if the cake is done. I just touch the top of it. If it springs back, it's done. I also don't know where my toothpicks are. When I was a kid, I would use a fork. we would just put a fork in it. Also, when you do the toothpick or fork method, the instructions always say to insert a toothpick until it comes out clean. I feel like by that point, the cake is overdone. If I were to recommend the toothpick method or the fork method, it's better to take the cake out when you have a couple of crumbs left still on the toothpick. I just feel like you'll get better results that way. And I think the last thing I'll say about when I differ from a lot of instructions is about a crumb coat. When I was making cakes in high school, I never even knew about a crumb coat. This was because I went to high school a really long time ago, like back in the day, like the Stone Ages, and there was no internet in the Stone Ages, so I never heard of a crumb coat. I think I heard of a crumb coat on the internet. My homegirl at How to Cake It, she calls it a crumb coat and chill. Crumb coat, put it in the fridge so that way you don't get crumbs in the outside of your frosting. That is the display portion, the presentation portion. I still don't do a crumb coat even after learning about it. When I was working at a patisserie, we never crumb coated. So there is a way to make sure that crumbs do not appear on the outside of the cake. So if I go into a deep dive later, maybe about general tips that I've learned working at a patisserie, taking cake classes, making another cake, like I'm happy to do that. But I just real quick, I don't do crumb coats. Also, I didn't film the making of this because Yolanda, How to Cake It herself, has the best video on how to make a chocolate cake. And then Preppy Kitchen has the best video on how to make ganache. Also, my kitchen has world's worst lighting, TM. So I don't think I could add anything to the video content that's out there. Just, as I said, replace the water with the beer, and then for the chocolate ganache, use the mint one, that's all. Areas of improvement that I think that if you could do this, or if I could do this again, I would improve. I know that ganache certainly hardens up. Maybe I should whip it more, or maybe I should go back to the ratio, because I was considering going a ratio of 2:1, which is what I ended up doing, 2 parts chocolate, 1 part milk. I might do 1:1 next time and whip that one to make it lighter. This is pretty dense. The ganache in between the layers, even though it was whipped, it's kind of dense. I had mentioned the calculator from the wonderful woman. This is why I love the internet, because people share this information just freely. I think hers was accurate if I were to make the layers only. I forgot that I had also used some of that ganache for our pre-tasting and also the sides. So just maybe pretend it's another layer and add that too. I'm gonna finish up my portion so I stop talking with my mouth full. Definitely, you have to give this a try. I hope that you can find this one still out there while the winter months are still upon us. One of my other really popular ones has been, it was like a coconut porter, I think. I don't like coconut period, so I definitely wouldn't like that one, but I've heard really good feedback about that one. If you have any other ideas, let me know. If I should do more baking content, let me know. This is my first baking videos. I could have a lot more, so let me know what you think. Subscribe for more content, and I will see you soon. Bye.